Hey, how's it going guys? Phil here, and this is a review for the VIVIBRIGHT Full HD 1080p projector. You'll receive the projector, remote control, 5-foot power cable, microfiber cleaning cloth, and instruction manual. The projector measures 11.5 inches by 9.5 inches and sits 4 inches tall. It weighs just about 6.25 pounds. On the front of the projector is a 3-inch diameter lens, which has a hard plastic protective cover. To its right is an IR receiver for the remote control. On the left-hand side, just behind the lens, are the focus wheel and keystone for adjusting the pitch. On the top of the unit is a large LED status light embedded in this tri-point star. On the back are the controls and inputs. Off to the right, we have the menu and control buttons: Enter, Source, Power, Left and Right, Up and Down, Menu, and Back button. On the left-hand side, we have the inputs: 2 USB ports, 1 HDMI port, SPDIF audio out, aux out or headphone port, IR receiver for the remote, power port, and main power switch. On the bottom are 4 rubber feet, 4 threaded mounting holes for use with a ceiling projector mount, and a 1.25-inch flip-out front stand. On the remote control, you've got the power button, Android key, which is not used because the OS is not Android, source, back button, menu key, directional navigation, enter, play pause, mute, screen rotation button, and volume control. The remote requires 2 AAA batteries, which are not included. Here I have the projector about 4.5 feet high, and 13 feet from my 120-inch projection screen. This is about a foot higher than other projectors that I've used, and without the tilt foot engaged. So this projector tends to cast the image a bit lower than most mini projectors. The projector has a stated brightness of 4,200 lumens. Here's how the image looks during the day. It's actually quite visible, as you can see how bright it is outside my window. Of course, the lights in the room are off, but usually projectors in this price range look sort of faded during the day. Not so with the F40. The native output resolution is Full HD, that is 1920 by 1080 pixels. However, the image is much better at night, and you can see how the colors pop a little bit more. So finally, there's a budget-level projector with a small footprint that can handle 1080p in and 1080p out. This makes the pixels, even at this large scale of over 100 inches, nearly imperceptible, providing a smooth and clean-looking image. The colors are nicely saturated and natural-looking, with deep blacks and decent contrast. The other thing that really impressed me with this projector is how nice the sound quality is from the built-in speakers. The bag has a Velcro handle for the straps and is zippered across the top and one side. It is made from a slightly heavier duty fabric than the roof of the tent. The audio is crystal clear and can be turned up quite loud, to the point where we don't actually need to use an external speaker in a small room. Though if you have a sound system you like, the external audio hookups work just fine. Now, the fan is louder than my other projector, which only outputs 720p, but is near whisper quiet. So it's a good thing the volume on the F40 can be turned up, because you'll need to drown out the fan noise. A few features prevent this from being my favorite projector though, despite the superior sound and image quality. The first is the fixed height tilt foot. You can either engage it or not, but there is no in-between height adjustment, so it baffles me how this would ever be useful. If the image is too low, then magically this foot is supposed to make it the right height when engaged? That's hardly ever the case, as we found, and we're constantly looking for other things to stack under the projector to get it to the right height. The other thing that we had a hard time with is the lack of inputs. One HDMI port is simply not enough when you have multiple devices vying for larger screen real estate. Whether it's the TV feed from the cable box, a gaming console, movie streaming stick, or whatever, having to constantly pull a wire out and plug in the next device is more than just annoying. It's exasperating. You could always add an HDMI switch, but that's still an extra step when you want to change devices. At least they included USB ports which can be used to power your TV sticks, like Fire TV and Chromecast. You could even charge your phone off one if you wanted to. Another minor point that I want to make is that when the main power switch is on, the LED on top is always on, red when the projector is in standby, and green when it's powered on. There is no setting to turn off this LED light, so it's not great, for example, in a bedroom if you want it to be completely dark at night. As I mentioned earlier, the OS is not Android and is fairly basic. There aren't a lot of advanced settings. You should be able to read some video file types off a USB thumb drive, though there's no SD card input slot if that's your preferred media. I did find, however, that the decoder didn't always recognize all video file types, even if they were MP4s, which likely has to do with 4K resolution sizes. If I downscale converted those video files, I was able to play them back on the projector. Overall, this projector does a really amazing job projecting clear 1080p Full HD images at large scale. The audio is clear and crisp, but competes a bit with the internal fan. The colors are vibrant and bright, with good contrast from light to dark. You'll still want to use it in as dark a setting as possible to get the best performance, but in a room with some ambient light, it's quite watchable. If using the projector outdoors, you can probably get away without using an external speaker, if you turn the volume all the way up. That is, if you're sitting near the projector. But if you're doing rear projection, where the projector is 15 or more feet away from you, use an external speaker with a long cable. If you don't have a need for more than one HDMI input or don't mind using a switch, this projector is pretty awesome for movies, TV, gaming, or could even work in an office setting, as text and words displayed are easy to read. This projector is available right now on Amazon. I hope you enjoyed this review. You can ask me any questions in the comments. I'll put a link to the product in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and join me next time.